Hello and welcome to Financial Conversations with Brian. Today we're going to pick up kind of where we left off in the last video where we talked about moving from financial security to financial independence. If you remember the video, if not, you can go back and watch it again. We talked about increasing the income and decreasing the expenses, and you want to do those at the same time. But in this video, we're going to talk about the expenses first. And the reason we're talking about expenses first is for several different reasons. One, I talked about in the last video, that with your earned income, depending on your tax bracket, $1.30 earned will give you $1 on your actual paycheck. So it takes, roughly 30% more effort to get the same dollar. Whereas if you cut an expense, $1 saved is $1 saved. It's a pure dollar. So this video is going to be about some of the books that help you quit your job to get your expenses a lot lower. I'll go over some of those books and talk about a bunch of other things too. But basically, how you get your expenses lower is going to depend on your personal drive. How much are you willing to cut out? Okay? If you're not willing to cut out much, it may take you a lot longer. If you're really, really aggressive and get on things, you can get there very quickly. So the first thing on the list, usually the most expensive thing on the list, is housing. So we'll start right there. With housing, becoming mortgage free requires some effort. Dave Ramsey and his baby steps. I don't know if any of you have read his book, but he has baby steps. And paying off a home mortgage is further down the list. The first thing he wants you to do is, have $1,000 saved and start the debt snowball, or my favorite, the debt avalanche, which we may get into that in another video. It depends on your personality type, which one's best for you. But anyway, getting into housing, okay? I had a friend of mine not too long ago. I helped with this housing dilemma. And if you've never heard of it before, there's something called house hacking. If you've never seen this before, look it up on YouTube. There's lots of videos about house hacking. And basically what it is, like my friend, he bought a duplex and he lived in the top and rented out the bottom. Well, he had about half of the money to put down on the home. So his payment for the bottom was really relatively low. So low that the rent from the downstairs covered the mortgage with $200 left over. Okay? So that's basically living for free. Plus the $200 extra could be used for paying water bill, cell phone, power, whatever you want to designate it for. This guy's in his early mid-20s, so bravo to him. He's off to a great start. So if he wanted to take his effort along with his rent payment, he could get that mortgage knocked out in no time. And once it's paid off, he has that full amount, whatever that may be, for the rest of the time he owns the property. Okay? So housing is the big thing. And there's some people out here that are probably in a state where they could be financially independent by just selling a home. I know that sounds simple, but sometimes it is simple. If you live, say, for example, in San Francisco or New York, where, it wouldn't be uncommon for just a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, middle-class home to be $1.5 million, $2 million. And if you've lived there long enough, you may have paid it off, or even if you're only halfway, let's say you've got it half paid off, you've got half of your equity in a $2 million house, you've got $1 million sitting there. Now, this is where it comes down to how badly do you want it. You could sell that house and move to an area like where I am in Northeast Tennessee and you could buy the same size or bigger, for 200,000. Okay, 200 to 300 in that range. You could probably get something move-in ready for 300. But you could do that and then take whatever was left over and invest that for income. It may be enough to completely set you free. That simple. But then, some people just, financial independence is not on their priority if they go, I'm not going to leave this area. Well, then you just don't want it that bad enough. Or you want to take a lot longer. You could get there really quick. Okay? So it's just, it's all up to you. How badly do you want it? Okay? Like utilities, next down the list, I guess you could say, as far as home, is utilities. I've got solar panels on my house, which pretty much nearly completely annihilates the power bill. Okay, you can do things to lower the water bill. Lots of different things. A lot of people don't realize it, but some of the best investments are not even on Wall Street. They're on Main Street. You could buy a low-flow shower head for like $5 or $10. And if that lowers your water bill by $5 or $10 per month, well, after a year's time, wow, what a return. You might make 10 times or more on your return just in 1 year. And then, that low-flow shower head may last you 20 years before, it's wore out. So there's just so many things you can do. Wrap your water heater, a hot, heater blanket. Just so many options. Line dry your clothes. Do fewer loads in your laundry, use cold water only. There's so many different books that you can read on saving on energy. And that's one of the other things I want to talk about too is, since we're talking about books, is take the time to read. I was lucky enough that I had a job in security where there was some dead time and I was able to read, and I'd sit there and I'd be entertained with it, taking notes. And that's what I recommend everybody do. Never stop learning. No matter where you are, never stop learning. Okay? It's really simple. Just get there. Start doing it. It's up to you. You can sit there and play on your phone, play games, Xbox, but is that going to help you get where you want to be? Probably not. Okay? So anyway, let's jump into some of these books here real quick. The first one that I like is it's called Living Well on Practically Nothing by Edward H. Romney. Now this guy, some of you think he's kind of extreme. He's figured out on here how to live for $12,000 a year, which is $1,000 a month. There's a lot of people out there that say, well, that's impossible. How can you do that? Well, look it up on YouTube. There's plenty of people that you'll see, like Prepper Princess or Raising Wildflowers, another YouTuber. These people live on $1,000 a month or less. It can be done. Once you get debt free, get your expenses way down, like cell phone. I pay $15 a month with Mint Mobile. Some people are paying over $100 a month. And that's the thing about it, cutting expenses. It could be as simple as a phone call. Okay? If you talk about increasing income, like say, I want to write a book or I want to do this or that. Well, the problem is that takes time. You're not going to, if you say, like I sell on eBay, I'm I'm going to start selling on eBay. Well, there's a learning curve there, and it's going to take a while to get there, to get the expenses. But expense decrease can happen almost immediate. Okay? Call around all your insurance, car insurance, homeowners insurance. See if you can get a bundled deal. See if you can pay less by paying annually instead of monthly or every 6 months. Ask questions. Call your, internet provider if you have it. See if you can get a lower speed that still fits your need. Lower that bill. And some people get extreme on that and say, hey, I don't even need the internet. There's a library with the internet 1 mile from my house. If I ever want to go get on the internet, I could just go there. Now, I don't do that, but you could, depending on how quickly you want to get there. It's that simple. Health insurance, call around. You'll want to do that anyway if you're going to quit your job, because that's one of the golden handcuffs. You always talk about a golden handcuff that keeps people in their job. It's like, whoa, why am I going to do about health insurance? Well, you can buy it on your own. And if you're a Christian, guess what? There's all kinds of Christian ministries that are out there, like Samaritan Ministries, the one I use, where you're basically pay a monthly amount, and it covers the other people's bills when they need it, and if you need it, they pay yours. There's more to it than that. There's a lot of fine print. You can go and read about it. I mean, it's great. The costs are a lot lower because in a biblical health insurance, or it's not really health insurance, but it's like a shared medical expense program. But in those, they won't cover things that are unbiblical. So that lowers expense right there. You're not paying for anything that's unbiblical. And your mind can go wherever it wants with that. I'm not going to speak it up right now. That's not what this is about. But you can do that, with automobiles. There's a book right here, another one of my books that I really like. And this is one that I'm actually working on where I can grow. It's How to Live Well Without a Car. And it's Chris Baelish is the name. Now, the name says without a car, but if you have kids and you live in a rural area, kind of like where I live, you may not be able to, they may not be doable with children, but you could at least cut down to one car. And that's kind of where I'm looking at. Might be a possibility down the road. Cut down to one. Cut your car insurance premium in half. It's or bicycle to work. Get an electric bicycle if you don't really like a lot of strenuous exercise. Walk to work. If you live just a mile or two from your job, walk to work. Now that may not be real good if you live in Alaska and it's 15 below, that may not be very comfortable, but you have to, really look at your own situation and see if that fits for you. You might be able to. And then you're going to get exercise on top of it, which is kind of like getting gym membership for free. Walking on the treadmill, well, you just walk to work. You go by the gas station if it's in between here and there and just wave at them and say, "Don't need you right now. Thank you. We're not going to buy. Don't need that Russian oil," which is kind of another sad thing. We used to be energy independent, and now we have to rely on imports. Another reason why it'd be great to cut back there is you're kind of sticking it to the terrorists, communists, whatever you want to call it. They get funded from oil, right? Groceries. I mean, there's just so many ways. This is actually kind of one of my little weak spots with children. It's sometimes harder to say no. I'm working on it, but there's several things that I do that help. There's some little grocery salvage stores that are nearby where the prices are, half of what it would be at a regular grocery store. You just have to look at the dates and make sure everything's good. Aldi is great. They save a lot of money. They help me save a lot. But meal planning out. If you're still working your job, bag your lunch instead of going out to McDonald's or Taco Bell or whatever every day. That adds up. Okay? So one of the things you want to do is also you want to write down everything that's coming in every month and everything that's going out for a month. Okay? Do that the first month so you can see income, expense. Then you can see your target areas and just go after them. Whatever that is, where you see it's high, go after it. It's not that hard. As far as keeping up with everything, another book, and this is the book about getting out of bad debt. And there is a such thing as bad debt and good debt. We'll get into that later. But this is Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. Now, I went through his Master Financial Coach training, and I have to say, when it comes to eliminating bad debt, this guy's great. Okay? He has baby steps you can follow to getting out of debt. I recommend you read those. We may go over those in one video later on. There's a few things that I don't really agree with on everything Dave Ramsey says, and I hope you don't either, because that's one of the things I've learned is that you want to have a lot of, the Bible even says it, you want to have a lot of different people that you're learning from, not just one person. So all of these books, you may take just a couple pieces out of this book and a couple pieces out of another. I've read over 500 personal finance business books, and I've taken a little bit off of each, whatever applies to me. Because that's the thing, is we're all different. What applies to me may not apply to you. Okay? Same thing with, retiring early or whatever. Don't let your retirement be defined by what somebody else is doing. And don't let what somebody else thinks about what you're doing influence your decision making. If you know what you want to do, then just do it. Yeah, you may lose some friends along the way. You know what? If you lose a friend over it, then they probably weren't your true friend anyway. Think about it. Now, another book that I really like, and this is not the newest version, but this is an older version of the same book. I've got several of them. It's called Get Clark Smart, The Ultimate Guide for the Savvy Consumer. There's a lot of little things in this book about saving money, and, I remember just off the top of my head, one of them I remember that I've used, ever since as his own razors for shaving. He had a tip in there he said, if you dry off your razor after every use, it'll last longer. So I even put it to the test. And I tried it with several different razors and actually wrote them down, how long they lasted. And I had some that lasted almost a whole year. One razor. Okay? And then later on down the road, I've figured out a way that if I want, and I've used it before, is you don't even have to buy shaving cream anymore. There's a company called Norwex that has a washcloth that it actually has silver fibers. And all you do is just wipe it on your face, real thorough, clean your face with it, and then just shave without even shaving any shaving cream. It's amazing. Now, the cloth costs more. I can't remember how much it is. It might be $10. But, as long as your hair growth is not real long and you shave every 2 or 3 days, this method will work. And don't really have to buy shaving cream anymore, or if you do, a can will probably last you a whole year. It's wonderful. Another thing with like the water bill and things like that, military shower, if you want. If you don't know what a military shower is, it's cut the water on, rinse your body, cut it off, lather up with no water running. Once you're done cleaning, turn it back on just enough to rinse the water off. It's done. Probably less than 5 gallons total. It's wonderful. And then, some other things, if you want to get even more extreme. See, this is all about how extreme do you want to get. You have these solar camp showers. They're just big black bags. And you throw them out there in the sun. And after 4 or 5 hours, even in cold climates, as long as the sun is shining, that water will heat up in that bag. And it'll get shower temperature. It holds 5 gallons. It's got a little spigot on it. You can bring it back into your house. Find a way to hang it in your shower. And, you wouldn't even have to have your water heater running. Now, some of these things, as a married man with children, they don't always work out. But if you're a single person, that might be easy. You don't have anybody else to convince to do something or argue with or whatever. You just do it. Hey, this is a cool idea. Do it. Live on $100 a month for groceries. Do it. You can do it. So, a lot of this is just based on the journey to financial independence is going to vary greatly for everybody. You can chip at it a little at a time, which is really what I did. Or you can get drastic and just do it. Make some phone calls. Find out, hey, is there a cheaper way? We don't even have cable. That's another thing on the list. I haven't had cable television in, 10 years. I have a Roku. And I can watch all kinds of movies for free on that Roku. Wonderful. I'm not even sure how much a Roku is now. I'm sure it's less than $50. But anyway, it's a one-time expense. Awesome. And then if you want to add, one good subscription service, if you feel like that would be good, Amazon Prime or Netflix or Hulu or whatever it is, add one of those. There are not any commitments with them. If you like one, keep it for a month or two, get tired of it, drop it, pick up another. It's great. So anyway, moving on to the next book. Possum Living. How to Live Well Without a Job and with Almost No Money. Dolly Freed. Now this book is kind of more about homesteading. Growing your own food and things like that. Now I can't say that I'm into that full speed. I do have some fruit trees in my yard, some pears and cherries, and I do grow tomatoes and squash and things like that in the summertime. But that's something that I think I may do a little bit later on. and see how many different things that I can grow on my own. Because anything you can grow on your own, that's less you have to rely on the store for. Which, what we've seen with the supply chain, hey, you don't know if what you really want is going to be there next week. So, there you go. That gets me into another thought here while I'm at it. And that's on food storage. Now, a lot of people, especially if you're a Christian, you'll say, well, that's not good. That might mean that you don't rely on God. Well, I know everybody's got their opinion on this, but I would disagree. Joseph, if you remember in the Bible, he stored up food during 7 years of plenty, and he fed a nation during the 7 years of famine. So I wouldn't say that it's completely a bad idea. Now, it depends on your reasoning. If you think it's something crazy like an alien invasion or something nuts like that, but if it's for other practical reasons, like we live in a fallen world, if there's earthquakes or tornadoes or things like that, or job loss. If you had 3 months of food stored up and you lost your job, well, that gives you a good, you're not going to go hungry for at least 3 months. Gives you time to adapt and come up with a plan if you don't already have one. Okay, so this book is basically about some of the more homesteading type ideas, which would be very helpful. Now, the next one, this guy, he's kind of comical. It's Jeff Yeager, the Cheapskate next door. Now, I don't really like the name Cheapskate. I've been called that before. Can't say it's a very endearing term, because, I just like value. I like value. I want the best for the least, because sometimes paying more is better than paying less if it lasts you a lot longer. But anyway, this book right here has got a lot of different good ideas about living happily below your means. About going free, going green, or living debt free, raising kids. It's got a great book. Well, I guess that might be it for this video. Hope you'll take the time to look up some of these books and read for yourself in more detail. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, like button, bell notification so you'll know about future videos. Like I said, just write down everything that comes in and everything that goes out for a month to see where you are. You know how like in malls are almost becoming non-existent. When you go in a mall, there's a sign there. When you go in, it's a red dot that says you are here. You got to figure out where you are. First step, find out where you are. And then we'll go into more detail on some of these expenses by category. May do a whole video just on utilities, a whole video on housing. It'll be more in depth. And then we're going, I'm thinking about alternating it up between cutting expense videos and increasing income videos, because some people, just, oh, no, I can't cut that out. I deserve it. Well, you might deserve it, but Dave Ramsey has a great saying, and I love it. It says, live like no one else, so later you can live like no one else. How soon do you want to wake up without an alarm clock, wake up, and the day is yours, not your employer's? Okay? Do you really want it to be the employer's, or do you want it to be yours? You have to decide. All right? And always remember this, okay? As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Goodbye.